Hey, new patient group and Wright Chat Nation, welcome inside the broadcast booth. Brian Wright here, and welcome into the second episode of Season 7, Episode 95 overall, the new patient group podcast. February is upon us. Man, January went fast. I don't know about all of you, but Kristen and I were just talking, and it's interesting to me. Some months, it's the same time, the same amount of seconds, same amount of minutes. Boy, oh boy, sometimes it goes slow, and other times it goes fast. And January for us was a grease lightning month. We are coming off an amazing MPG Iconic event. It was our very first one, and I very much believe MPG Iconic will become the go-to event in orthodontics. And we'll talk a little bit more on the other side about the event, and we're launching another one in September. And I'm going to put the registration link, it has begun, in the description below. But wow, lots of good things going on, and have a good one for you today. February is upon us, and we are rolling along into the biggest mistake that your private family-owned practice is making when selling to corporations. My former life, being CEO of Shea, a very large plastic surgery corporation, we looked for practices that were making these mistakes that I'm going to be talking about today. The corporations love when you make these mistakes. And I want you to stop, because it's not hard to stop this mistake, but you do have to change your mindset. You do have to become coachable and realize a lot of the problems that you're sick and tired of. If you just seek the coaching advice, those problems can become your greatest assets. And we're going to talk about a lot today. Hopefully change that mindset. Let's have a great one. Before we get started, let's fire up the music.
Welcome aboard the new patient group flight deck. Less chaos. Check. Less stress. Check. Less advertising costs. Check. More personal and financial freedom. Check. All right, business checklist completed. Let the takeoff roll begin. Welcome to Season 7 of the New Patient Group Audio Experience, a podcast dedicated to forward-thinking doctors wanting to learn innovative ways to run their business today so your practice can achieve new heights tomorrow. And now your host. He's the founder and CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of Wright Chat, and a trusted motivational speaker for Invisalign, OrthoFi, and others. Brian Wright.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Piggybacking off of what I started on the intro, talking about MPG Iconic, shout out to all the new patient group family members and Wright Chat family members that were there. I was going in, I don't get nervous easily. I get anxious easily because I care so much. Like, I get very anxious going on stage, and I tell everybody, back when I was an umpire in professional baseball, the days I worked the plate, I'd probably go to the bathroom 20 times within the last, between the hour before you walked on the field, leading up to walking on the field, that last hour, I lived in the bathroom. But the second I stepped foot on the baseball field, I was fine, and that, for all of you out there, if you're a speaker or whatever you're doing, that's actually how you can determine whether or not it's nerves or anxiety. Is that whenever the baseball game hits, as an example, if you step out in the field and it's gone, it's anxiety. If you step out in the field and it's the same or worse, those are nerves. Those are two very different things. And for a lot of people who speak on stage, the nerves get in the way. They don't stop when you walk on stage. For me, luckily, all those things, they stop when they walk on stage, but the anxiety builds because of how much I care, how much I want to deliver just amazing results for the audience. And in this case, it was more nerves. I was very anxious going in MPG Iconic. I knew we were going to pull it off. I knew it was going to be great. We worked our butts off, the whole team, to carry out the vision that I have for that event and for the event moving forward. But I got to tell you, once the event started, I was still had some rocks moving around in the stomach, man. They went away. But just the feedback was amazing. I wanted that to go so well. So many of the family members, as you listen to this podcast, it just means so much to me because you always, you're already investing in a monthly services with us, and you wanted to come there, and it just meant the world to myself personally, my family, and then all of the new patient group team members. It was amazing seeing your faces, and you did so well. Kudos to your team members. I mean, obviously leaving there, and your testimonials said it all, but leaving there is no other event like it. There's so many events in orthodontics that either have outdated speakers, or, even if the speakers are halfway decent, the team isn't getting anything out of it. There's no personal attention. There's no practice. There's no role plays. There's no accountability. There's nothing that's going to ensure you go back to your practice and actually get a return on the investment you made to go to the event. And this is a completely different event. And everybody listening out there, our next one, I'm going to put the registration link in the description of this podcast. And I encourage you to go. September is going to be opened up to non-customers as well as customers. And it will be unlike anything you've ever attended. And it's going to be something that you're going to want to attend, I believe, every year moving forward. And it's just so different. It's a life, career, and business / marketing event, because I'm a big believer and do have a podcast about this at some time, it's this parallel. Life employs your career out there, doctors, your businesses. Those things they're not separate. They're all one. If you are a person that is upset in your personal life, maybe your finances aren't in order, you're upset at your wife, your husband, whatever it may be, that is absolutely going to affect your career. And employees listening, if your career is not going well and you're not thriving at work, doctors, that's going to affect your business. And it also is the other way around. You can be perfectly happy in your life, but employees, your career could be going down the tank. You may not be getting the promotion. You may not be getting the bonus. You're not making the money you want to make. And therefore, you take that frustration home, and it can create relationship issues. So all of these things are intertwined, and that is what MPG Iconic is. And it was awesome. And I am just so freaking excited that we did it, and so excited for the future. And I think it will grow and become the go-to event because it is flat out better than anything that exists out there. And I'm just so excited for all the attendees, and thanks so much for coming. A couple updates for you. I'm just getting back from Fort Lauderdale. We did a nice workshop for Invisalign out there. So audience members that I met, a couple of you were podcast listeners already, but the rest of the room, hopefully you've started to listen to the podcast. It was great meeting you and having business chats afterwards. And always enjoy meeting new faces, and that was fantastic. As I do these updates, I actually have quite a few today. I've already given a couple, but I have quite a few today. I want you, I do these updates for the obvious, just to let you know what's going on in our world. Our State of the Union's great. We have very strong partnerships going with OrthoFi, Invisalign, and others right now. And the other reason I do them, and I have not mentioned this on a podcast before, but I think now is a good time because of how many updates I'm about to hit you with. If you were sitting behind a microphone as the CEO of your organization, every 30 days when you came on and did a contemporary radio show that we call a podcast here, what updates could you give your audience, your employees, your customers, your prospective customers? What updates could you give? And if you think about it in those terms, a lot of companies, you really realize how stagnant you are. 30 days goes by, you're kind of in the same thing as you did 30 days ago. Another 30 days goes by, you're kind of in the same thing you were doing 60 days ago. And if you notice on this podcast, every 30 days, and this isn't every time, but an example like today, 30 days passed and we have several new things that we are doing as a company to help all of you out there, whether you already are a customer, whether you are a avid podcast follower, listener, a rep out there, whatever it may be. We want to always be pushing the needle, obviously for selfish purposes. We want to thrive, we want to grow, etc., just like all of you want to do. Again, the real reason that we put our heart, our energy, our souls into this stuff is creating new cool things to always be advancing all of you forward. And Iconic was one of those, a perfect example. Like, we had to go way out in a limb to launch that and do it as quickly as we possibly can. But some other ones for you. So I'm going to be starting. So the very first one, and when it's ready, so if you're listening to the podcast, you look down in the description. If it's not there yet, it's just because we don't have a landing page for it. But I'll put the registration link on March 21st. It's going to be our very first one. I'm going to be doing it with Dr. Bob Skopak. We're going to start kind of some CEO fireside chats. I'm going to do a national webinar on just every quarter, right in that kind of that time frame. And I'm going to grab a customer of ours, whether that be a new patient group and Wright Chat customer or one or the other. And we're just going to go. We're just going to talk. There'll be some topics prearranged, but for when Bob and I get together, we just the other day on the phone, we talked for an hour and 40 minutes. And, when that conversation was done, I'm always like, damn it, man, I wish we had a camera on us, mic'd up, because there's just so many great business discussions that organically come up. And that's kind of what I want these fireside chats to be is, there's going to be a little bit of an interview and back and forth. But for a lot of the docs that get on there, we're close and we're just going to shoot the bull. And I think it's going to provide a lot of great value out there. I probably am going to transcribe those into an MP3 and put those up as a podcast as well. So there'll be some additional podcasts that are coming. The new patient group flow has always been, not always, but for many years now, has been right around the first business day of every month. We come out with a new contemporary radio show, a new topic. And I think what this will do is we're going to continue that, but every 3 months, we're probably going to have 2 podcasts that month. Or what I'll do is every 3 months, that will be the podcast. So in March, most likely, either that will be the podcast, or in April, what I will do is launch that March fireside chat that I have in this case with Bob. We'll launch that at the beginning of April, and that will be the podcast. So that's kind of my way of bringing in and incorporating some more guests and really keeping everything really, really fresh. And Bob's been with us for years, and just a great customer and a very close friend of mine. So that'll be a really good one to kick off. Just surprising somebody out there. So David Boschkin, I know you listen. I'm going to be calling you soon, man, because we're going to get you hooked up as maybe our second one, and plenty more. All you listeners out there, be ready for the invite, because you're all going to be coming on and being a part of that fireside chat. So that's really cool. That's a new thing. A new thing we're doing too, it's called Thursday Thoughts. So for many years as a company, we very much branded ourselves as coaches. Accountability, role plays, meet with you every other week, be a part of your leadership team, not a consultant. Be like you've hired a basketball coach, and our team comes in with a playbook that combines with yours in a very personalized fashion. We work with you in all kinds of ways: your life, your relationships, your business, how you train your team on what 90% of their job is every day and has nothing to do with your practice. We're experts in those things. But through that, over the course of the years, I realized that, we've branded ourselves as more of a coaching company, and there's people that know us well that a lot of times don't even know that we do digital marketing. And because of that, we sat down as a team, and our digital marketing team is so good. And we have people flocking to us, coming from, all the big names that are out there spending bukus of money at booths at these events. We have people, they have leaky holes out their back, which is great for us because they do the advertising. They don't take care of the customer. And what happens? The customer comes to us. And when they do, they don't leave. And Haley Jeffrey and David Martin, who run the digital marketing side of things, are so great. And I am so proud. And there was a time I wasn't, but as the years go by, the vision is being carried out, and our culture is so amazing, and they are so amazing, that I proudly want everybody to know how great our digital marketing services are, how personalized they are. And when you come aboard, you are not going to leave, because you are not going to get it from any other companies. And the Thursday Thoughts are going to be around digital marketing topics. You're going to hear from Haley. You're going to hear from David. And sometimes those will be YouTube videos. Sometimes they'll be YouTube shorts. Other times they may be on TikTok, they may be on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be. They're going to come on with their Thursday Thoughts with just digital marketing tips. Their thoughts about the future of what digital marketing looks like, what the data is. And those are going to be really cool. They're also going to be launching some national webinars, and you'll be able to find those after they deliver those. Those will be spliced up on our YouTube station. But make sure you make some time to come to those live national webinars. When they presented at MPG Iconic, I was so proud of you, David, and proud of you, Haley. You both have you just come so far in your careers. And I can't wait to really, really consistently grow this side of our business. You two are absolutely fabulous. You care so much about the customer. And these new Thursday Thoughts are going to be incredible. Also, we're launching a brand new, we're kind of, this is a lesson for all of you. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business. You're technically a startup for the first 10 years of your organization. And what happens a lot of times, entrepreneurs, is they stop doing the things that made them successful. They get burned out. And that is why, 80+% of businesses go out of business in their first 5 years. But the startling number is that number is even higher for businesses that go out of business in their first 10 years, right? So you may be thriving your first 5 and then you're toast. Once year 10 comes around, you don't even make it that long. Well, we're in year 11 and it's kind of phase 2 of our growth. And we're reinventing ourselves in many, many ways, revamping a lot of the coaching options that we have to make it easier for people to work with us. And also, like I talked about with the digital marketing services and just proudly letting people know, hey, we're here. We offer these things. Well, one of the new things that we're launching are boot camps. And the very first one is going to be launched in February. And Coach Eric is going to have that one. And it's going to be all around how you get and use the new patient phone call to reduce no-shows and increase starts. Okay. And again, how you psychologically prepare people to be excited to show up to your doors, to be excited to show up ready to buy from you. And that is the job, as you know, we talk about, of the receptionist. They are not a data collector. Oh, your dentist name and your insurance and your address and all these things that most of you out there use your receptionist as. And then you say you're a people business, yet you ask those questions and then send them paperwork that asks the same damn questions. If you're a people business and you want to ask them 30 questions on the new patient call, why aren't you filling out their paperwork for them? That's a people business. And there's so many examples of that on how people say, hey, I'm a people business, yet run it like a healthcare practice and reinforce their healthcare practice throughout the whole consumer journey. Well, this boot camp's going to be awesome. And like I said, Coach Eric, I'm going to put the registration link in the description below. So make sure to check that out. And these boot camps are not intended. We have no interest in there being 50 practices sign up. That is not what a boot camp is. A boot camp is intended for personal attention. It's intended to move your needle. It's intended to role play with your employees, hold them accountable, motivate them to do better, give coaching feedback, make them role play again. So by the time you go through the first session, through the fourth session, I believe the first one has 4 sessions, your receptionist in this case can actually go back and use what they were taught and actually execute it on the phone call. That's what a boot camp is. And we're not looking for a ton of people to sign up for those. We're looking for people that really, truly want to improve and actually see a result from it. Those are the those are the practices that we want to welcome into our family with any of our services. And also these boot camps that we're launching. The promo code to use for the receptionist boot camp that's coming is R as in receptionist, B as in boot camp 24. So RB24, and that will be put in the description below. So the podcast listeners, you can get a discount on that boot camp. Really looking forward. We tried these a while back, but we didn't stick with them. The whirlwind kind of got to us, but they're here to stay now. And I think we're going to launch a new boot camp probably every quarter. So every 3 months, we're going to be launching a new one. And eventually, we're going to have boot camps on top of each other. So as an example, while Eric's doing one, I might be doing one on a different topic. But for right now, probably every quarter, we're going to launch a new one. So be looking for those. Make sure to sign up for those. Happy to announce a new partnership with Smile for a Lifetime with Robin. And, I have a company, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it, but it's called Wright Sports. And the whole purpose of me starting Wright Sports was to help raise money for whether it be inner city kids or really any kid that their parents don't have enough money to be able to afford for them to play the sport of their choice. And it could be any sport. Doesn't matter. I could care less. And I love looking into the eyes of these kids that get to play sports, and it helps change their lives. And a lot of times, sports for some of these kids, sports is an outlet to stay out of trouble. Sometimes when I say trouble, I mean stay out of jail. And I really enjoy having an impact on those kids' lives, and I wish I could spend more time doing it and focus and devoted to it, and just unfortunately I don't. But I bring that up because this partnership with Robin's company, I'm a big believer in it because they help bring orthodontic care to families that could not afford it for their kids. And you all know I talk about this and on how much you all change lives. and the domino effect of if you do get a patient and a kid to start with you, how that can domino effect into maybe they're made fun of less, right? Maybe they're getting picked on because of their teeth and that goes away. They build confidence. They get better grades in school. They get into a better college. They get a better job, etc. This domino effect that I'm not sure all of you realize actually happens based on the work you are doing. I think a lot of times it's let's give the best clinical care, let's take care of the patient, then they move on with life and you may forget it. But the reality is you change lives. So, the way I look at it is you might as well learn every way you can to convince people to start with you. But with this partnership, it's really amazing because of just the things they do. And the part of the partnership is we're going to be able to offer some Wright Chat and some new patient group service discounts to certain doctors. But all of you out there listening, if you have interest, you can partner with us and them to be the doctor in your area, that is giving back and doing these cases for kids that otherwise would not have the opportunity to get orthodontic care. So great opportunity, a great partnership with a company I very, very much believe in. We've got the AAO announcement. I know there's a lot here, but this is what goes on in our world every 30 days. I mean, it's crazy behind the scenes, and I love that craziness. And we got AAO coming, and we've done this now for a few years. It changes, every year a little bit. But the day before AAO begins, Oliver from OrthoFi and I are going to be doing about a 4 to 5 hour workshop. It's going to be a really good one that we're going to do together. For those of you out there who are already going to AAO, just come early, okay? Come early. Let's pack the house for that workshop. You're going to get more from that workshop than you're going to get at AAO. I can promise you that. You'll get more hands-on attention. And you're going to hear much more forward-thinking stuff. So I will put, once the registration link is available, I will get that registration link in the description of this podcast below. Again, if you hear me say, the description link or a link in the description below and you do not see it, it's just because that link has not become available yet. So just check back and eventually it will be available and you can get registered. It's going to be a fantastic one. And I am driving on Thursday, the day this podcast has come out. I will be on my way to Denver for OrthoFi's Nexus National event. Going to be delivering Unlocking Your Inner Badass, Becoming a Better Version of Yourself to thrive with the business and the practice of tomorrow. We go on about 11:30ish, I believe, Saturday morning. So make sure, audience members, make sure to take a late enough flight so you're not out of there before I go on, because it's going to be brand new content that I have not delivered before. And it's going to be really good stuff, certainly stuff that you would not have heard from other speakers at that event. All right. So the intention is to very much make you uncomfortable with what the future looks like and the mindset and leadership skill sets that you must have in order to reinvent yourself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. So, wow, that was a lot of updates, to say the least. And sometimes I don't know how we manage it all, but we do it because we love all of you, and we're here to make everything better for all of our listeners out there and family members. Today, we're diving into a topic that the reality of the situation is many of you make. In fact, I would argue, having kind of studied the industry for many years now, and this isn't just this industry, by the way. The mistake I'm going to be talking about today, this happens with restaurants. It happens with law firms. It happens with you as orthodontic practices. It happens with companies all over in every industry. And I think it really comes back down to, when we open up a business, and a lot of you have to remember, because I believe a lot of you forget, is that if you own your own business, and you have to remember that was a choice you made, right? You come out of school, you could be in $1 million of debt, you get a loan that adds to that $1 million of debt, and boom, now you're a business owner. And we all have this story that we tell ourselves in our mind about, what our lives should look like, what we want them to become, and what we want our careers to become and what that should look like. And then inevitably what our businesses should look like. We have this story that we tell ourselves. And, if for whatever reason those stories are coming true and you feel like you're accomplishing that, man, oh man, that is such an amazing feeling. But when you're not accomplishing that, and that could be in any one of those three areas, or inevitably it could just be one of those or in all of those areas, it's not a good feeling. And we start whenever we fall behind where we want to be and where that story, that we're telling ourselves. And that story could be about how much you want to produce, how much you want to take home, whatever the hell it may be. As we're not making it, and as we fall further and further behind of where we want to be, we start making a lot of irrational decisions that inevitably just compound on themselves and make things worse and worse and worse and worse. And oftentimes, I don't believe as business owners, we even realize we're doing it. We become so tomorrow and short-term focused that our vision goes down the toilet. And we put ourselves in positions that whatever story we're telling ourselves, it doesn't become impossible, but it just moves further and further away from becoming reality. And I felt this, and I still feel this, not as much as I did, back when New Patient Group was more early on. But, and you can kind of think in your head, if you felt this, is that, you open up a business and you go into it, and there are things that you really love, right? For a lot of you, what you really love is the clinical side, the practice side of the business. And that is represented with, the majority of the CE you get is clinical focused. And you put your heart and soul into being this amazing, amazing clinician because that's your passion. That's what you went to school for. That's what you truly love. And meanwhile, the business, right, that makes up the majority of your practice, a lot of times becomes a little bit of the redheaded stepchild, right? You're not really seeking as much CE and self-education over on the other things that you're just not as passionate about. And when I had New Patient Group in the beginning, you're the jack of all trades, right? You're the sales guy, you're the CEO, you're the COO, you're the coach, you're the digital marketer, you're the content producer, you're the organizer, you're the admin guy, you're like the everything. And many of you out there, I'm sure you feel the pain on that, is that you feel like you are everything. And a lot of times, I learned over the course of the years, a lot of times, if you feel like you're the everything many years into your organization, this is why, or one of the reasons I did the first podcast of this season called The Year You Fired Yourself, is eventually you've got to look in the mirror and go, okay, where the hell am I going wrong? Like, I'm still doing too much. What's wrong? Like, why can't I find the right people to take over this? When I do find the right people, they leave. Like, why is this chaos continuing? At some point, you got to realize, well, that's your fault. And I did realize that early on is that a lot of the things that I wanted to go well that weren't going well at the time, it's really because I was interfering too much and not letting great people really thrive and carry out the vision that I had. Well, over the course of time, business owners, like I said earlier, a lot of them go out of business, in 5 years, but even more go out of business before they reach 10 years. And a lot of you have a fortunate situation, and this fortunate situation is going away. And a good example of what I'm referencing right now is Mark Cuban leaving Shark Tank. And I am going to have a more in-depth podcast about this exact topic. But, Mark Cuban invested about $20 million over the course of his time at Shark Tank and lost money. Right? You're talking about companies that, they had the publicity, the notoriety, obviously that on the surface had a good product or service. They had the financial backing, they had the advertising, they had the connections, they had all the right things on paper. And the majority of them still went under or are still to this day not profitable, not making a nickel. And you say to yourself, how the hell is that how is that possible? And I say that's the world of being an entrepreneur. It's freaking hard. Like, you work 7 days a week, 24/7, 365. You put your house up for collateral. It's nonstop, and you may get that money back, and you may end up making a ton of money, and you also may not. But in all of your worlds in orthodontics and a lot of other doctors and other types of professions that are listening too, you live in a world where you can run the business like crap and still walk away a lot of times with millions of dollars and then convince yourself you're making all the right business decisions. And you're in a very fortunate position to be able to get away with running the business like a redheaded stepchild, because those days are coming to an end. Orthodontic practices, there's people that are filing bankruptcy. They're going out of business. In the past, that has not happened. And while I believe this is still the golden age for orthodontics, I'm weird like that. Most people would disagree with me, but I still very much agree with it, is that running a business is freaking hard. And when you get into it, you have, like I said, this story that you're telling yourself. You're gun-ho. It's like when you first get married, right? You're in this honeymoon phase. And when you first have kids, you're in this honeymoon phase. And as time passes, that honeymoon phase slowly but surely goes away. It's harder and harder to keep that honeymoon phase, and it's harder and harder to do the little things that made you so successful as a relationship in the beginning. And you get tired, and you get burned out, and it's hard. And for so many of you out there, you have not found a way to get rid of the things that you hate. The things that you hate and the things that are dragging you down, the things that are annoying you. This could be employee turnover, finding the right people, training, marketing, HR, ambiance, advertising. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. That stuff is taking away from the fun of you being a clinician. It's taking away from you truly loving and enjoying what your passion actually is. And for entrepreneurs out there and smaller businesses and other industries, one of the things that drives people out of business is exactly that, is that they have little time to do what they love inside their business because they're spending so much time focusing on just keeping the business doors open. And they are everything. Whether that be their own fault from not relinquishing control, whether it be in a budget problem where they can't hire the right people, whether it be a leadership problem to where they do get the right people, but they don't know how to develop them, or probably many other things, you get burned out. And as you get burned out and you're moving further and further away, like I said, towards the beginning of the story that you're telling yourself on what you want the business to be, your life to be, etc., that's when these decisions, these irrational decisions come in, and you actually are making things worse. You're making things harder on yourself, and you're moving further and further away from you being able to show up to the business every day and enjoy doing what you truly love, because all the things that you either hate doing, maybe you like doing it, but you're just not good at it, whatever it may be, those aren't being carried out by the right people with the right systems, with the right training. And therefore, you feel like it always falls on your lap. And I see this, like I said, I see this in every industry out there, but it is rampant right now in orthodontics because all of you are forced to be the entrepreneur that you made the decision to become, but at the time, you didn't realize you were actually going to have to be a real business owner. Right? At the time, you thought you could go in, be a great clinician, enjoy it, have a little team that all operated beautifully, and you were going to kick everyone's butt and make money. And it's just not the case anymore. And this is why I believe it's the golden age, because it's not the case anymore. The few and far between that actually run it like an entrepreneur and actually run it in a way that other people will not commit to doing. It allows you to stand out so much in your community that it gives you the opportunity to really kick everyone else's ass without the chaos, without the disruptions, without the advertising dollars, etc. But as time passes, so many of you out there make the intentional choice to not get coaching around the things that can get better. And what inevitably that you do is, and this is where, so with Shay, I said this in the intro, we would actively look for practices that were just sick and tired of it all. They just were like, screw it. I want out. I didn't know all this was going to come with it. I don't want anything to do with the business anymore. I just want to show up and be a great clinician and get rewarded for it. I want out. And whenever we came across those situations, as a corporation, we were like, hell yeah, because, what we're doing is we're buying a stock at a very low price, knowing that that stock is going to rise under our guidance. And this is why so many people fail in the stock market, and we've all been guilty of this. I know I sure have, is, we go in And we're like, oh, okay, we want that stock. And we buy it high. And then as the stock tanks, we panic. And what do? We sell it. When what should we do as that stock is tanking, because we believe in it, we should be dumping more and more and more of our money in it and being patient. And as it drops more, throwing more money at it. And you keep investing on the downturns, because that's when it comes back, that's how you make money and do well in the stock market. But very few people do well in the stock market because we panic. And many people out there, when we were buying plastic surgery practices, we were buying up, and there was exceptions to this, right? We also wanted ones that were thriving and doing great, and they were maximizing dollars, and they were growing every single year, et cetera. Of course we bought those, just like the corporations, the bigger names and the smaller names do today. But what they're truly looking for are these bargain deals. And what a lot of you are doing out there, as your practice is stagnant, as your practice is in decline, instead of investing in that decline, instead of getting coaching that will help alleviate the problems that you have, the frustrations that you have, in order to finally make those streamlined and work in your favor to where you can go and do what you love to do, what do is that you panic. You make irrational decisions that make things worse because your thought process goes as far as tomorrow, because you're trying to rush the comeback, right? The past doesn't define anybody. It's the comeback that defines us. The problem is a lot of our comebacks, the key to the comeback most of the time is consistency, right? Great people do consistently what average people do occasionally. Remember that line. Because to truly come back, you have to be consistent. It's not what you want to hear. Like so many of you out there want the quick fix. Okay, I'm going to do marketing and it better pay off in 3 months. I'm going to do some team training and what are the results going to be in 6 months? Like this is your mindset. And I would argue, no. Your mindset needs to be, here's the vision and here are my goals of what I want to become. Here are the things that I want to show up to my practice every day and be able to do. Here are the things I want no part of, so I'm either going to outsource those, even if on paper it costs me more. I'm going to outsource those, or I'm going to hire better, or I'm going to train the people I have better to take those worries off of my plate. Digital marketing goes into this as well. A lot of you think, you're paying these companies that are quote unquote cheap, and you hire them because they're cheaper than somebody else, maybe like us. And they do a crappy job. It's all template stuff. They're doing nothing on YouTube. They're not using videos and the power of video to help your compliance, reduce your appointment times, build a YouTube station, nothing on TikTok, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is a decision you are making that is creating difficult times for you to not get the phone to ring. But you make that decision just because on paper it's cheap. It's not cheap. It's actually more expensive because it produces a crappy return. Like you're not going to buy a stock just because it's cheap. You buy a stock because of its quality, right? If you go in and grab Amazon stock is not cheap, but you're doing it because you believe in the leadership team. You believe in their fundamentals. You believe in their innovation. You believe in their future. That is why people hire us. I don't want to be cheap. Don't want it. Want nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with quantity, everything to do with quality. But for so many of you, the decisions you're making is more around a quantity thing, and you're trying to make the comeback so fast that you're actually making the comeback take longer. And these corporations are just loving your decision making. Because why wouldn't they? They're coming in and buying, Amazon stock, the year that it's down. And then for the next 3 years, the Amazon stock is going up while this company is dumping money into it. And that's exactly what you need to do. If you have frustrations and your practice is not growing, for God's sakes, get off your butt and get the coaching that will make it better. Don't give up and make irrational decisions and say, screw it, I'm out. Just because the things that you can't stand, you're fed up with, and you can't take it anymore, and then you say, here, corporation, you take it, thinking that that's going to solve it all, because guess what? All that stuff comes with a lot of strings attached, right? It's not like you just get to be the clinician, everything's okay, right? There's a lot of strings attached when you sell to the corporations. And look, I have friends amongst the corporations. Like I said, we used to have 250 plastic surgery practices. We were the biggest powerhouse in plastic surgery. And I've said it on here before, all the family-owned practices out there that follow this podcast, you are lucky that the big-name DSOs in this industry don't run things the way I ran it with Shea. Because if they did, the private practice would be in serious, serious trouble. But because of the way they run things, all of you will be fine as long as you stick to having the best food, the best trained waiters, the best ambiance, the best organic digital marketing content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The things that you can control, be great at it, invest in it, and you're going to be fine. In the plastic surgery world, when we moved in next door to a family-owned practice, they were in trouble. For all of you, if a DSO moves in next to you, you're fine. Again, as long as you follow the things that we teach on here. As long as you hire help. I think and this is a sad stat, I think there's only about 20% of the entire orthodontic industry that uses consultants. That's a horrible number, everybody. That is a industry based on data that's saying, I know it all. I'm going to do this myself. I don't need help. Meanwhile, 75% of billionaires have a coach. Do you see how messed up that is? The best entrepreneurs in the world, 75% of them use a coach. Only 20% of the orthodontic profession uses one. That is crazy, everybody. And what it amounts to is these corporations coming in and swooping up these family-owned practices on the cheap and then doing what they believe they can do to grow them, and then the stock climbs, and then maybe they sell it, which is part of the DSO process, right? Buy cheap, sell high. That's how you're a successful business person, whether it be in an investor or regardless of what you're investing in. You never buy expensive and sell cheap, but a lot of you out there, that's the mistake you're making. You have all this debt, you buy your practice, whether you be 5 years in or 30 years in. I see a lot of very seasoned orthodontists saying, screw it, I'm out. All of these things that I hate doing, that's taking away from the passion that I love, I can't take this anymore. And I say to all of you, there is a way to get your business streamlined to where you can enjoy doing the things that you love to do while making sure the rest of the crap doesn't get in the way of that and drive you nuts. But you have to change the decisions that you are making. You are creating the problems. You are creating the problems. And you could call this a little bit of a piggyback off of the first episode, the year you fired yourself. But if there's chaos in your office, those are decisions you are making, whether it be your high share to chair with braces. Braces cause chaos. Braces cause training problems. Braces cause a packed schedule, a packed waiting room. When you lose somebody, you got to hire somebody. That's what braces comes with. You're making the decision to be high share to chair with braces. Well, Brian, I can't get my patients to be compliant with clear aligners. That is your fault. There is a way to get patients to be compliant with clear aligners, period. But you have to seek the coaching in order for it to happen. You can't have the bias of, well, patients just aren't compliant with clear aligners. Well, then why are there so many practices that are high share to chair with clear aligners? Matter of fact, I mentioned Bob Skopak earlier for the fireside chat. I think Bob, he's basically 100% share to chair with Invisalign. There's exceptions. I think it's probably 96%. There's exceptions. So why are his patients compliant and yours aren't? I can tell you why. It's because of the environment, the culture, how their appointments go, how their assistants speak, how their TC set people up for compliance. And the list is obviously much more than that. And what does non-compliance do? It creates chaos. What does chaos do? It creates you not having fun as a business owner and wanting the hell out. And I go back to, if you just seek advice and get a real company that will just help you exceed with the digital marketing, a company that will help you exceed with the culture by being a better leader, exceed with revamping all your processes and job descriptions to reimagine how it's always been done. Train your team in a way that every consumer interaction exceeds expectations. You can come out on the other side in a couple years smiling when you show up to work every single day. But if you wake up every single day thinking this is just the way it is, I can't take it, and you sell to corporations, the corporations win. You know, it's very ironic to me listening to the complaints that the private-owned practices have, and this is in every industry. The restaurant industry does this. The plastic surgery industry does this. Every industry complains about the corporations. But what's happening, like in orthodontics, is you're the ones, the family-owned practices are the ones creating them because you're selling to them. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with, I don't think there's anything wrong with the corporations. It's people that have, you know, dreams of having multiple locations. I don't agree with the way most of them are run. But the reality is that the family privately owned practices, if you wouldn't sell to them, they wouldn't exist. And I understand why you do, but the reality is the way you sell to them, you know, I take Jep Pascal as an example. You know, hey, Jep, I've used them as examples multiple times in this podcast of, I believe out of any customer that we have ever worked with as a company, and then me personally, we took that practice to a level higher than anyone else has ever gone. And it goes back to how coachable he is and how coachable his team is. And whether it be on the digital marketing side, the culture leadership side, the mindset, all the way to training the team, they are amazing. And for, I guess, 4 years coaching them, every year was significant growth. And as you experience significant growth as a practice, you do reach a point where significant growth becomes very difficult. Like you do reach a point where, you know, what you really want is to keep things non-chaotic, you know, smooth, efficient, enjoy showing up to work every day, refining the processes, role-playing things you're already doing well to make sure it doesn't go backwards. And you start to look for 5% growth, and you start to really hunker down on any lost opportunities and really refine things where you keep growing. And over the course of time, Jep Pascal maximized his success at his 2 locations, then decided to sell to a corporation. That is how you do it, everybody. You don't do it out of desperation. You don't do it because you're sick of all the crap that comes with being a business owner. You don't do it because of the chaos. You don't do it as an out. That's how the corporations win, by buying you cheap, and then they own you. What Jep did, that's the way you do it. But what did they do? They sought out coaching. They committed to a vision of 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, right? They sought out a digital marketing company in us that just flat out does it better with more personal attention. And they made the decision to say it doesn't have to be this way. We're going to grow like crazy, spend less advertising, less chaos. We're going to kick butt in the community, and we're going to sell for high. That's what all of you need to do. All of the stresses, all of the disappointments so many of you have, the quote-unquote failures. I say that with quotes because I don't believe there is a failure. As long as you're learning from it and changing, it's not a failure. Unfortunately, a lot of people in this industry, you fail and you keep just repeating the same things over and over and over again that made you fail the first time, thinking you're going to have a different result. Definition of insanity. You don't sell for low, everybody, just because you won out because you can't take it anymore. Seek the advice of coaching and the right digital marketing expertise. Combine the two together. And you can fix the things that are driving you crazy, but you have to make the intentional decision to seek help. And if you do, you're trading a few years of your life, and that will set you up for the rest of your life. Don't be short-minded, making rational decisions to try to come out of this in 3 months. It will not work. The quick fix. Run from that as fast as you possibly can. For those of you out there who are stagnant, for those of you out there that are in decline, which if you're stagnant, basically you are in decline. That's a red flag that you're about to go into decline. Seek help. You can come out the other side just fine, and you will look back on the effort you put in for 2, 3, 4 years and go, my God, I have the rest of my career, the rest of my life, the rest of my business journey to kick ass without advertising, without the chaos, getting to show up to work and do what I love every day because I've got the right people, the right training, the right outsource partners in place to handle all the other stuff that would otherwise create the chaos in the office. You can all do this. And I see this too. You know, there are people that are growing, and they're growing, which a lot of you out there would give anything to grow. But if you grow the quote unquote wrong way, now you have mass chaos and problems while you're growing. And I see those people selling too. And that's not as bad as selling at when you're stagnant or in decline, but that's still bad because, again, that's like selling a stock when it's at 50% of its high, but it has another 50% to go. Right? Again, just because you're growing, it doesn't have to be chaotic. If it is for you out there, that's because of the decisions you are making as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. That is why you are feeling those pains. Get help. That way you can grow even more and you can work even less. Stop making this mistake, everybody. Stop giving up your business dreams. You opened a business because that was your dream. Don't give up on the dream just because it's hard and just because you're frustrated. You can get the help to get you through that, and you will come out on the other side very, very happy that you did it. Hope everybody enjoyed today. You know, the biggest mistake that you are making when selling to corporations, just a quick summary, is you are selling low, right? When you bought high, you are getting out to avoid all the chaos that comes with the business every day that drives you nuts. Get help, get improvement, start growing. And then if you want to sell to a corporation, sell it top dollar, and you will be so thankful you went through that process. Thanks, everybody. Look forward to seeing so many of you at the OrthoFi event, and we'll see everybody soon. Thanks for your partnership. We'll see you back here in March. Bye-bye.